All right, welcome to the Channel CEO Podcast Friday edition. Thanks for joining me. Before we jump into our repeat guests, got to read this mandatory, obligatory little blurb here. But most of you, well, hopefully most of you know that we launched the Channel Technology Map about 3 weeks ago. The snapshot into roughly 990 technology companies in the channel. I think it represents just under 1,200 products that have been added to Channel Program's Navistack platform. Uh, Head over to channelprogram.com. At the top of the homepage, there's a link to download this 60 plus page report broken out into 18 top level categories. You'll find our next guest company featured prominently in some of the cybersecurity categories. So definitely go over there and check it out. But without further ado, bring on our guest who's a little wounded but healing. And let me bring him to the stage. Here we go. There he is, John. How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Good. All right. So saying you got the strap over there.
Yeah, I
You're
got this
immobile on one side.
goofy goofy sling.
Yeah, I thought it was from either, racing race cars around these crazy, fast tracks or, going down the side of a mountain at 100 miles an hour. But you're saying it's just years of just general wear and tear has kind of
It's called
laid you up.
getting old, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I think it probably a lot of it goes back to when I was a competitive tennis player, and then
Mhm.
adding snowmobile and mountain biking and skiing and everything else, and it was time for some major surgery. So got it done, and it's been a nice break from the road for what it's worth.
Yeah. Well, good for you. I think you said we'll see you down at IT Nation here next week. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So good on you for getting that done and still getting out there and shaking hands and kissing babies, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff. But thanks for jumping on. I wanted to, it's been, I don't know, maybe 14, 16 months, something like that since you
Yeah,
last been
sounds about
on.
right.
Yeah. And you've been moving exceptionally fast, growing at one healthy clip. You've got backing by some of the biggest names out there. I mean, Bain, I think
Hmm.
was at $190 million investment,
Yeah.
something like that. And so I guess first things first, what's changed over the last 12 months? I mean, just having that accelerant and just having the spotlight and just moving so fast.
Yeah, I'd say for the longest time we stayed so lean. I think it was good and bad, right? It forced us to have really good fundamentals in our business. It it's really easy when you have too much money, I think, to gloss over, fundamental challenges that you have in kind of your business. And so, we were in a good position when we raised that round. No one was getting money at the time. And the only reason
Yeah.
I think we had such a good turnout bringing both Bain and Excel in was really, our SaaS metrics were in the kind of top 1% of all SaaS companies. And so, what's changed post? I mean, a lot, I would say. First off, massive amount of hiring. Right, there was a
Mhm.
lot of areas that needed an additional investment. Everything customer success, tech support. We've pumped up engineering a ton, and obviously expanded our sales and marketing infrastructure. Um, and it's been really good. It's been kind of a professionalization process, I would say, which you learn a lot during that process. But at the end of the day, we've really pushed hard into essentially a platform play. We
Mhm.
were already going down that path, but this money really helped us accelerate it. Helped us also make some changes, even though in funny ways, we actually took some, write downs on revenue by making our billing more friendly. We made a lot of changes to be more MSP friendly, kind of post investment. But those were been the big changes. I really believe it's hard enough to, manage 40, 50 or however many networks an MSP manages and 30, 40 tools. And I think there's kind of 6 core areas MSPs need to focus on. And I think it makes it a lot harder if you're trying to piecemeal your security stack together. It becomes a
Yeah.
tax on your business. And so we've worked really hard to create a platform play so that we can offload a lot of spend, and even more than that, back office work on managing other products so that we can essentially be your partner, simplify the security, and work on go to market activities together. Right. I think that's kind of the biggest area. I get excited about working with MSPs, helping them grow.
Yeah, so looking across several thousand MSPs that have used our tool Navistack to visualize their stack, you look at cybersecurity specifically, that product category, it is now by far and away the largest percentage of an MSP stack. So if you break it down from authentication to operations, customer success, I think in that report we had 18 or so top level categories. Cybersecurity represented like 29.1 or 29.3% of the overall stack. And,
Right.
and within that stack, in that report, I think we had several hundred, maybe 400 cybersecurity specific tools. So when you talk about becoming a platform and helping kind of normalize the technology, normalizing the spend, that is a big theme these days. And you guys have gone from kind of a core 1, 2, kind of layered this approach. I had some small tuck-in acquisitions and then, kind of building out the platform. But that's going to be, I think that's one of the themes moving forward, right? There's technology sprawl as the MSPs are using, dozens and dozens of tools, but you're building a platform that actually makes it more efficient, more profitable, increasing EBITDA,
Right.
reducing, technician efficient or latency or what have you. I guess that going into the, investment, was that one of the intended outcomes, or is that more of a byproduct of the investment in kind of, as you mentioned, like the maturing process?
I think it was a byproduct. We were already going down that path, but it was always, how much can we do at once, right? And so, we had to launch it. We just launched our whole partner program last week. Formally, we launched Blackpoint University. It allowed us to invest in all those kind of business enablement tools as well. We were going down that path. I think the money really helped us increase our engineering capacity so that we could add new products much faster, integration, smash bugs faster. In the area I haven't really talked about, I barely talked about it because we kind of kept it a secret for the longest time, but we put a huge investment into AI. We've had a dedicated team working well over a year, and we, I think, have the best data set in the world, even better than some of the largest companies because of the breadth of alerts and integration types we bring into our platform. So it's been really exciting kind of watching the evolution of this. When we came into MSP market, all we did was MDR for Windows machines on-prem.
Mhm.
Um, we've never raised our prices ever
Wow.
since 2019. All we've done has been adding more and more and more products. And during that requires like a really efficient engineering platform as
Yeah.
well in the back end, hosting and costing. And obviously, we have a huge SOC as well. But fortunately, we were able to pull that off. And the next 6-12 months, I'm really excited. We have a lot of new stuff coming out,
Mhm.
and I think it's going to kind of shake up this game a bit. So, because the MSP market is undergoing, as rapid change, so much consolidation going on, so much acquisition, roll-up platform plays themselves on the MSP side. And what we're watching is our large MSPs are really starting to move up market into the co-managed IT space, so COMET, and that requires, that mid-market, I'll call it, some call it enterprise, I call it mid-market, anything 350 to several thousand endpoint end customers. They're stuck on the kind of a traditional stack, more that traditional old school SIEM and old school vulnerability management. And I think that stack has gotten way too expensive and the efficacy has never really been there. So to me, it's an amazing opportunity for the MSP market as they mature, because you get an opportunity to go into an elite security platform, use that as your entry into much larger customers. Well, guess what? A large MSSP is charging way more than we are and
Mhm.
has no IT services to follow up. So it's a really big opportunity where you can come with a really efficient, way more high efficacy platform and then follow up with co-managed IT. You have a lot less pricing pressures as an MSP there. Because as you know, like a large percentage of this market is focusing on really small businesses. It could be 5 or 10 or 20 users. And they have a lot of price sensitivities. And so it's an interesting space. Feel like the bottom half of the market is starting to get commoditized as far as the security tools they pick. There's a lot of checkbox stuff going on, but that is, I think, going to bite folks reputation wise when they have events.
Yeah, I totally agree. So the we talked I think going back, we talked about this kind of concept of maturity, maturity curve, and as it relates to security in the MSP space, and it's a pretty common theme across a lot of these podcasts, is that the market is maturing, right? It's been
Mhm.
forced to mature because of the complexity of the attacks, and then kind of layer in AI. It's going to even accelerate that maturity model. But you guys came along at a point where I would argue that the industry was still wildly immature when it came to security. It was
Yeah.
hard for them to even, you know, try to go sell security, even to some of the more sophisticated customers that they had.
Yeah.
And so I imagine again, you kind of talked about Blackpoint University and a lot of the enablement, just relaunched a partner program. So are you seeing across the customer base this general maturing of the customers, or is it still do you segment them into like kind of mature, moderately mature, and then advanced?
We absolutely do. We have a
Yeah.
lot of segmentation. It tends to be on kind of size, but size tends to be a good, as far as endpoints under management or things like that, does tend to be a good, it's not always. There's some small ones that are just absolutely fantastic that are just emerging. They're going to be growing really fast. What I saw is when we entered this market, I'd say mid 2019,
Mhm.
folks just didn't even, they barely had anything. They had basically a basic AV, a firewall, and maybe some DNS or vulnerability scanning. Then obviously managed detection response. They need to be able to respond real time or close to real time to a threat and neutralize it before it comes to event. That started getting pushed. EDR, managed EDR started getting pushed, and it was really being pushed by the insurers. And so that was forcing some maturing. But what I've watched lately is there's been different go-to-market models by various players in this market, and some have frankly claimed those capabilities but are charging so little, like it's impossible to deliver on it. But it does check the box and it feels good. So I feel like I'm watching a chunk of the market, kind of the small on the smaller side. They like those solutions because they're inexpensive. Maybe they can buy it with their RMM and it's just all bundled in. Um, but those companies aren't growing as fast as the ones that are using maybe not the traditional enterprise stack, because I don't think it works very well and it's expensive, but the higher
Mhm.
end of the MSP stack, which is I think where we fit. Generally, that's where our ideal customer profile, for the ones that get the most benefit out of us. Because I look at it this way: there's about, and I'll see if I can remember these, but there's about 6 core areas, in my opinion, an MSP needs to focus on if they want to be some of the highest performing, highest multiple on the EBITDA. You're going to laugh because none of these 6 has the word security in it. For me, it's you look at most MSPs have very few sales reps. And if they
Mhm.
do, they're dual hatted, they're half tech, they're half rep, right? So that's a challenge. So I think an MSP that actually takes the time and dedicates time to front of the funnel lead generation, because I feel like if you're not growing, you're kind of in the process of dying. And with all the acquisitions and roll ups going on, the pressure is going to continue to increase on those 1,000 endpoint or less MSPs under
Mhm.
management. So front of the funnel lead gen, you have to know where your next customer is coming from. Word of mouth is obviously the best, but it's not enough to get enough customers coming in. Uh, I think the second area is post sales customer success, right? It's very expensive to get a customer, and so how can you show maximum value, differentiate yourself from the competition, and really focus on the best customer experience possible? I think that's an area where MSPs have to, I think, seriously, knuckle down and formalize that program. The third area is automation and AI. I am a firm believer in automation. I think it's, the large MSPs have dedicated teams that do nothing but automate, 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 automate. And so you can see how it can be hard to start catching up and competing if you can't focus on that, right?
Right.
So there's another piece to this, though, that the automation cuts both ways in AI. Is most of the workloads move to the cloud, right? If you want a dirty secret on catch hackers, follow the authentication authorization platform. So that was Active Directory.
Mhm.
It's always on prem, still is quite a bit today, but it's moved to the cloud. So then you build all these workflows, use automation tools that connect to all your other tools. Maybe you're investing heavily in Copilot to automate workflow there and ticket responses and things like that. Yet we invented MDR for Microsoft 365. We were the first in the world to actually do it with the real SOC doing real responses. The vast majority of the market has no real ability to detect and respond with any reasonable amount of time to stop a breach into Azure 365 or Entra
Mhm.
cloud infrastructure. So if you think about it, if you're going down that path and you don't have that live kind of monitoring on that, with an ability to respond, just regurgitating the Microsoft alerts is not enough today. You're we're going to assume you get automation AI efficiencies. Well, it's built on a house of cards if that gets taken over. It's going to be kind of like your RMM getting taken over in the on-prem world. So
Absolutely.
you have to go through a hardening process and then a monitoring detection process. The kind of fourth area is retention of your key IT folks. I mean, I think talk to most MSPs, something that freaks them out more than anything is losing their top techs. Well,
Mm.
there's still a massive shortage of competent quality IT professionals, even worse on the security side. Well, in a software company, if we are not working on the latest, greatest technologies on our platform, we're not getting the best software engineers in the world, right?
Right.
I think the same corollary goes to MSPs. The top IT techs want to work on the latest emerging technologies. And I think automation and posture management and all that type of stuff is going to be really, really important. I think the fifth category, to me, I'm probably going to forget the sixth one, is to me, the MSPs are growing the fastest and can handle the largest customers are absolutely at the pointy tip of implementing Microsoft's latest offerings. They have
Mm.
highly trained and certified technicians. They're in the ecosystem. They're in the pre-release betas, and they're able then to wrap automation around all that type of stuff as well. I think that's a really, really, really key area because guess what? The whole rest of the market's running on the Microsoft stack too. So that allows you to come up market, do Copilot readiness assessments. There's a whole bunch of data tagging and governance you need to do before you should even turn Copilot on. And so I think it opens up more service revenue as well, and kind of front of the funnel, assessment type work, which is I think is really good. So front of the funnel lead gen, automation, your post sales customer success, recruiting and retention, mastering the Microsoft ecosystem. I think all those things are really key. And when you think about piecemealing an EDR technology, an app control technology, maybe some sort of cloud alerting technology, DNS, this, and that, and the other, all that is taking your eye off the ball on the stuff that's going to make your company the most valuable and grow the fastest. And so this is a long-winded way of saying this is why we're focusing so hard on the platform play, and then having a partner program and Blackpoint University to help, arm our partners with the right sort of business hygiene. A lot of it is really business related. Yeah, there's security stuff in there too, but it's really about how to build a front of the funnel lead gen program, how to hunt, how to prospect, how to do customer success, because this is the lifeblood. All the tools and everything we use is like the bones and muscles of a company, but revenue is the oxygen.
Yeah.
And without that, the rest doesn't work. And so, to me, that's why we did this play. And I think the cool part is the mid-market, as MSPs move up, is used to way overpaying for tools. They don't buy the tools and use the tools that we see at the MSP shows. They're buying ServiceNow and other things like that, but they all are using Microsoft.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's kind of why we've embarked on this model, because we know it'll serve down market, it'll help mature it, and allows us to move up market with our channel partners.
Yeah. So some of these are macroeconomic influence, right? You talk about, the some of they're self-inflicted to a degree, right? Because, as you're building, it's hard for especially the smaller MSP business owner to be thinking about, top of the funnel, thinking about, putting in the right enablement plan to make sure that when you sign somebody, they actually,
Yep.
they actually utilize it, and then you start to expand into other customers or whatever. And then you get into, as you mentioned, right, staffing shortages are real, and they're being exacerbated by this this deluge of roll-ups, right? And that's
Yeah.
one of the things that we talk about when we do the M&A roadshows that we've been doing over the last I guess 9 months now, is that the M&A roll-up strategy is having a really, really massive impact on. We already had a talent shortage to begin with, but it's having even more dramatic impact for some of the mid-sized MSPs trying to recruit and maintain, because a lot of these PE-backed roll-up MSPs can afford to. It's almost like this issue that we have in the DC area, that when somebody
Yeah.
gets a clearance, right?
Yeah.
They stay at, Lockheed for a year, and then they get a call down the street from another contractor. They're jumping for another 20, 30, 40,000 or whatever. But
Yep.
that same thing is actually happening now in the MSP space, and at a more accelerated rate.
No question. No question. I think this is why, to me, it's so important that if you're going to be a great vendor, in the MSP market, I always jokingly call it the Green Beret go-to-market model. Because if you think about Army Special Forces, kind of core mission is working with, kind of, whatever kind of fighting force that isn't maybe government sanctioned, right? It could be a militia, whatever, that they have to work with, they have to train, they have to upskill them so that they can fight with them. That was always the original. That's why they generally know so many different languages. To me, I look at it because of this pressure that's coming from the roll-ups. If you're a small to medium-sized MSP and you're as an owner, CEO, president, you have to flip the bit in your head because listen, I was a network engineer, a hacker. That's how I started. And so everything I thought about was tech, tools, tech, but you got to take a step back and say, good, we're going to assume you're good at that. We got to now get good at running a business. And I think to me, as a kind of antidote to all the roll-up pressure and the maturing that's going up market, we have to take our partners on this maturing journey and get them to indoctrinate and believe. I mean, another thing I see all the time, and I totally empathize with the reasons why. You're an MSP, you get your first 10 customers. They may or may not be great customers. You feel like you can never raise their prices. You're always trying to kind of upsell them here and but the reality is you have to move to a repeatable sales motion as fast as possible. And when you have multiple packages and a la carte upsells and all this stuff, it just takes your eye off the ball. I mean, imagine. So first off, most MSPs don't have a lot of sales reps. Second, you now have multiple packages. Now, okay, you brought in a new security tool. Maybe it's Blackpoint MDR or a response bundle, and you want to now sell it. Now they have to learn that. It's much better to have one package, one simple pricing model, and then everyone gets trained. Everyone gets trained in that model. And so that takes a lot of pressure off. And so I think it's, to me, it's really, really, really critically important for an MSP owner operator to look at themselves, every 6 months and say, am I moving up that maturity curve? Has I started standardizing pricing, packaging? I forgot my sixth one, verticalization.
Yes,
The
I would agree with
best
that.
companies. I mean, look at us.
Yeah.
Do you think before I stumbled into the MSP space, which is what I did, just from hustling and being out in the market in the early days, we were trying to sell to anyone and everyone. By the time we figured out the MSP market, which is a vertical, it took off. Right. So whether legal's your vertical or finance or healthcare, logistics, transportation, whatever, it's very important as an MSP you start thinking about that. You go to the trade events that those folks are at or the U.S. Chamber of Commerce events, and you get yourself indoctrinated into that vertical till you become the go-to, and then everyone wants to follow you. So I think doing those things will really simplify, kind of the business side of the MSP.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's shift gears a little bit. You alluded to you guys have been working on kind of stealth projects surrounding AI. I mean,
Yeah.
so what impact will AI have on the platform and kind of the usability and just the efficiency and automation?
Yeah.
Thinking in terms of the technician. So let's talk about in terms of technician, and then also, you got to also bring up kind of the counter
Right.
intelligence or counteracting the bad guys. But let's start on the AI automation and how it's impacting kind of usability of the platform.
Like our platform specifically.
Yeah.
So we have several stages on our roadmap. I'm not going to give them all away, but
Sure.
number one, and it's actually in production already in our security operations center, was especially on the cloud side. So this is crazy. The stat is no BS. It's completely real, right from our SOC. We are now doing, for every one on-prem save, we're doing 16 cloud saves. I thought it was 10 to 1 until I realized our cloud product had a 60% penetration in our base.
Wow.
It's 16 to 1, right?
Wow.
We did just under 500 responses the other week, right? And so cloud, catching hackers on-prem is, I don't want to call it easy, okay? But we've been doing it for a long time. The decision tree is a little more simple than cloud because you have less kind of things to go off of. You have the login, right? Did they come from proxies at first place? Was there impossible travel? But then there's all these follow-on, indicators of compromise that could happen once a bad guy gets in. Well, that results in a lot noise that has to come into our system. And we're processing about 52 million events a day. We're processing more events than every Mercedes connected car sends to Mercedes every day. And so our first step was frankly unsupervised learning to knock out the low fidelity, high volume alerts. We ran at side saddle zero false negatives still today in production. It's just unbelievable. But the reality is we have years of responses on-prem integrated with EDRs, all of our identity. I mean, we basically invented it. Lateral movement is identity detection and response. So for us, it's all about reducing noise, because you never want too many alerts coming into a SOC analyst. You get alert fatigue, right? It's kind of like crying wolf all the time. So that's step one. Two, here's the interesting part. We have so many responses, and now so we're doing supervised learning nonstop. So every time off all of our old responses, now every time our SOC does a response, it's training our model. That took a long time to build the infrastructure. So what it's really going to do is allow us to have, we're already the fastest at responding in the world, bar none, bigger than, way faster than all the major EDR players and everyone else in our market. It's going to allow us to get to the point where our AI tool is making a recommendation to the analyst, and then the analyst gets to vet and verify this. And this is not that far away. I also see it to the point where AI can actually take a response faster than the human and then get validated by the human. So, we're never going to just turn the system loose. Well, maybe, but I can't see that coming, to be honest, unless we're so confident it's just outperforming humans. But I think over time, what you'll see in any SOC is your analyst experience can go up because you get a better analyst to alert ratio, and you don't have to deal with as many sort of triage nurses up front, which everyone can make a mistake, but the more senior you get and experienced in your career, you make less mistakes. So for me, I think step one is going to make our SOC even better and more efficient. But as you go down the path on a platform, with app control, exposure management, we're going to posture management. This platform that we're building on under the hood is allowing us to actually tag and normalize our data. So we'll in the future be able to take inputs from our products and other products and then learn on those in a standard data model. That way, when you can foresee a future when you look at our network map where you can say, oh, here's the highest exposure, highest vulnerable devices. And it allows us to put that puzzle picture together of exposure, real-time response, privileged activity, and all that comes together. So will it help the end technician? I'm not sure. Right now, we're focused on, it'll help them where maybe they're dealing with less cloud response, like, hey, did someone log in from this location? We've never seen them there before. But it's going to turbocharge our threat operations. And that's what I'm super excited about, because we're already the best. But if you don't have a hardcore AI play that's real and not smoke and mirrors BS, I think you're going to get passed by and disrupted by the larger folks that have, a lot of resources.
Totally agree. And so how do you guys view the general AI threat? I think, there's, it's depending on who you talk to, it's much ado about nothing, but then you talk to some others and it's serious and it's catastrophic potentially, right?
So I've heard a lot about AI for fuzzing applications and finding vulnerabilities. I definitely believe it can work. I'm not seeing it really in the wild yet, right? It takes some specialized skill sets to learn that. Where I think it's helped a lot is on phishing. Remember when you get an email and they spell color with a U, so they're of some former British colony and they're not US. But I think it's really helped kind of eliminate that language barrier to social engineering. I think that is something that has absolutely worked. I absolutely think it's on the distributed denial of service attacks, AI controlled botnets can morph and change much quicker, right? So that's pretty effective. I think honestly, my biggest fear with AI is not on the cyber side. It's on the information operations side and tricking populations and throwing. It's more national security threat on essentially you can feed a lot of information that's real and true and with a little bit of BS, and it's very believable, and AI can help you really distribute that in mass. That's scary to me. for sure.
Yeah.
And I think in warfare, obviously, with air defense systems and everything else in wargaming, AI is going to be, it's an arms race at the national security level. But I'm not seeing a massive impact, on the on the offensive side that we have to defend against from AI. But it doesn't mean it's not going to come. I'm just not seeing it today.
Yeah. So how do you, looking forward, right? How do you prioritize, the investments, the bets that you put down, right? Because you are, again, it's one thing when you started out, right? You had a single
Yeah.
product and then more from
Yeah.
the second product and third. Now you're playing like 4D chess,
Yep.
times 10, right? So how do you look at the market in general, where it's going, and how do you prioritize bets that you're putting down, on the tables?
Yeah, no, it's in that's wild because we're in our 2025 budget cycle right now. But I look at it. One prioritization of budget is how can we make the customer experience better? How can we make self-serve and self-serve upsell if you want to move to a different package better? How can you build our platform for more platform-led or product-led growth, kind of the PLG workflow and play?
Mhm.
That's absolutely an area because MSPs have enough portals to log into. They just want it fast and efficient and simple and just like make this easy. So integrations, reporting, billing, that's a huge, we've been investing the past year like crazy in this infrastructure because we know darn well it's hard enough for MSPs to reconcile all these products. And I don't, we weren't quite friendly enough. And I think we've made massive changes. And I think more changes will be coming in the future. MSPs are a lot of them are shifting. I'm not saying we're doing this, but a lot of MSPs are shifting off per endpoint pricing and move to per user, which makes sense. And that's what I'd do if I was an MSP. But so that's one area. The second area is you're always investing in reducing any tech debt and then kind of moving your hockey player, moving to where the puck's going to be as far as, kind of platform, decisions. So your data model, everything. And then there's some core areas that we're going to be heavily investing into, like where you're going to watch us come out. Logic is kind of our login compliance. Think of it as just our compliance product, kind of the
Mhm.
not seam. We don't want to use seams to catch hackers. We want to use seams to help you tell your compliance story because we have a whole platform to catch hackers. So we have massive upgrades that are going to drop pretty soon here. So we're excited about that. But then there's some whole new product categories we're investing in right now. I can't share the confidential roadmap on that. But at the end of the day, cloud. I still believe in a cloud first, kind of approach for IT. But there's
Mhm.
so many doors open that folks don't realize to interrogate, and so how you can determine the state of your cloud configuration, I think is going to be really, really important. How can you harden that configuration? How can you alert when there's drift happening? That type of stuff I think is going to be this market needs, and upmarket needs it too. It's hard, it's complicated, and one little mess up, and you specifically around conditional access. So
Mhm.
many people turn on conditional access for greater security and granularity. What they don't realize is a lot of existing stuff gets turned off.
Yep.
So, for us, we're always looking, does it make the customer experience better? Does it allow us to kind of future proof our system so we can iterate faster and add new products faster? And the third category is it's something that's going to allow us to frankly grow revenue because we have to. We can't innovate if we're not, growing really fast. It's just a
Yeah.
requirement.
Well, it's fun watching you guys grow at the clip
Yeah,
that you're growing. I mean, it's amazing just to see where you guys started and where you're going. And
I
so,
appreciate that.
yeah, absolutely. And fellow Terp, by the way, I got my
Heck
Terp
yeah.
Operative back here. So yeah. So I'm always rooting for my fellow Terp there.
I know. I
Um,
know.
well, look, man, I really appreciate it, especially as you're flying with one wing there.
Yeah.
But appreciate you jumping on, and I hope we'll see you down at IT Nation next week. And for everybody listening, definitely check out Blackpoint. It's pretty easy to find them. They're everywhere. I think it's an understatement. We'll have links to Blackpoint in the show notes, and you can find them over here on channelprogram.com as well. So they're moving fast, and you definitely need to be on board checking them out, especially as they move into this platform play. I think that's going to be material impact. It's going to have an immaterial impact on MSPs moving forward. So I'm looking forward to seeing this thing evolve here over the next couple of years. So
Awesome.
Thank
Kevin,
you,
thank you.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we'll see you down at IT Nation. Looking forward to
We'll
it, man.
Yeah, man. We'll see you there. All right, bud.
All
Thanks a
right.
lot.
See ya. Thanks.